বিজ্ঞাপন বিরতির পর আমরা ফিরে এসেছি আজকের অনুষ্ঠানে আলাপচারিতে। আমরা কথা বলছি জুলিয়ান ফ্রান্সিস ওবির সঙ্গে, যিনি বাংলাদেশে জুলিয়ান ভাই হিসেবে বেশি পরিচিত। মুক্তিযুদ্ধের সময় 1971-এ বাংলাদেশের রেফিউজি শরণার্থীদের বাংলাদেশে ফিরে আসার যে বড় প্রসেস ছিল, সেখানে অক্সফামের হয়ে এই তরুণ কর্মী সে সময় কাজ করেছেন। দেখেছেন মুক্তিযুদ্ধে বাংলাদেশের শরণার্থীদের কি অবস্থা ছিল এবং তারা বাংলাদেশে ফিরে এসে কি ধরনের অবস্থার সম্মুখীন হয়েছেন। খুব কাছ থেকে দেখেছেন বঙ্গবন্ধুকে এবং এই শরণার্থীদের প্রত্যাবর্তনের ব্যাপারে বঙ্গবন্ধুর যে প্রজেক্ট, বঙ্গবন্ধুর যে প্ল্যান ছিল সেই প্ল্যানের সঙ্গে তিনি খুব কাছাকাছিভাবে কাজ করেছেন। বাংলাদেশে 2012 সালে তাকে ফ্রেন্ডস অফ লিবারেশন ওয়ার উপাধি দেয়া হয় এবং তাকে নাগরিকত্ব দেয়া হয় বাংলাদেশের 2018 সালে। বুঝতেই পারছেন এই মানুষটি বাংলাদেশের মুক্তিযুদ্ধের সঙ্গে কতটা ওতপ্রোতভাবে জড়িত এবং এখন পর্যন্ত তিনি বাংলাদেশকে ভালোবেসে বাংলাদেশেই রয়ে গেছেন, কাজ করছেন ডেভেলপমেন্ট অ্যান্ড ডিসেবিলিটি কনসালটেন্ট হিসেবে। ফিরে আসছি জুলিয়ান ভাই, ব্যাক টু ইউ এগেইন। ইন টার্মস অফ the relief operation, that was possibly the largest relief operation in the world, bringing back all those refugees back to Bangladesh, independent Bangladesh. How big was that project and how challenging was that project to bring everybody back and then help them to resettle?
Well, it was enormous. I mean, people these days are talking about the refugees from Ukraine or other countries, or particularly nearer to Bangladesh, the Rohingya refugees. But the Rohingya, the total of Rohingya refugees is only about 1 million. We were dealing with 10 million people from Bangladesh. And so it was a huge responsibility particularly of the Indian government. And so that was one problem, but returning to Bangladesh, they and we had to control that as well, because you couldn't have thousands of people going back all at the same time across different crossing points. It had to be controlled, and the government and organizations like Oxfam were making sure that the refugee families going home would get a relief supply of food and perhaps warm clothing, because it was winter time, at the border crossing. So you needed to adjust what you were handing over according to the needs of the family. So it was a gradual process, but still and very well organized in my opinion, but still the refugees returned much more quickly than we had anticipated.
Just obviously they were excited to come home.
So they had all gone back by the end of February in 1972.
So you work quite closely with the Rehabilitation Plan. What was your observation in terms of Bangabandhu's strategy in terms of the rehab plan? Because obviously he was such a big man, and in terms of planning such a large repatriation or rehabilitation, he was the key man, he was the key person.
Well, yes, but also he depended on the international. I mean, they needed at that time about 500,000 tons of food grains a month. So the food grain was not available in the country. So that had to be organized. And of course, one of the sources of food grain was the United States. But the United States had been on the side of Pakistan. So that was another problem. So it was quite clear that by March, when everybody understood the enormity of the problem, that senior people like UN people, twice my age at that time, they were saying unless the food supplies are ensured and the communications restored, we doubt if Bangladesh can survive as a nation state. That went into some of the official reports. So, I mean, the fact that Bangladesh has developed and progressed beyond anyone's expectation is quite a success story.
Absolutely. But because we remember the comment from Henry Kissinger, bottomless basket, we are now no longer we are now a middle level country in terms of our status.
Yeah, I mean the
mid-learning.
The development has been quite remarkable, particularly as you have to factor in things like in 1974 there was a famine,
big famine,
largely man-made by Henry Kissinger, by diverting food supplies somewhere else, and also the political upheavals over the years, and of course the development could have been much more if there had not been political
instability. Yeah. So you stayed behind in Bangladesh, and you're still in Bangladesh working with the people of Bangladesh. You have been awarded as Friends of Liberation War. You have given the citizenship. So what has been life in Bangladesh?
Well, it's been. If I've been honoured by the Bangladesh government and the British government honour was for services to development in Bangladesh, but that is actually an honour for all the Bangladeshis that have worked with me and changed my mind sometimes, moulded my opinions. So I have been very lucky to have been in the right place at the right time, so it has been a great privilege to see the change. I think I also express my concern that the gap between the rich and the poor is getting bigger, and I regularly write in the newspapers, sometimes very critically, about people not paying income tax and things like that, and corruption, of course. But yeah, there are millions of very hard-working people, and it has been a privilege to be a little part of that journey.
Absolutely, and there must be a strong love and affection from the people of Bangladesh that kept you going in Bangladesh for all this time.
Yes, sometimes it's a bit too much. I mean, it's a bit overwhelming, and they give me too much importance or too much honour, but
I'm sure you deserve that honour, Julian Bhai, because people love you, and your contribution in terms of work in 71 and onwards, you're still working in Bangladesh as a disability consultant. So let's come to that point, because obviously time is running out. What has been your experience in terms of how disability is being seen and accepted in our society in Bangladesh?
Well, it's changed in a very positive way over the last 30 or 40 years, but like many countries, and it's not just Bangladesh, but people who have children or adults who become disabled, they feel that they are useless members of society and they can't contribute anything, but actually that's not true at all. If they are given some encouragement and some facilities, they can be extremely productive, and so there are some very good organisations, and the government has been more active than so. There's always a lot more to do, but the struggle is still to convince parents that children with a disability or a learning disability can actually manage in a much better way than their parents believe.
And contribute to the society.
Yes, and yes.
I mean, obviously, in terms of dealing with people with learning disabilities or physical disabilities, resource is a issue. At the same time, perception of the society, perception of the parents is another challenge. So in terms of resources, how, I'm sure there are still room for improvement, but are you seeing a kind of movement in the right direction?
Yes. I wish I could say the government funds were greater, but part of the problem is that the government assessment of the incidence of disability has been done by the wrong people. The data collectors haven't been trained in the right way. So the percentage officially announced is completely ridiculous. And that of course affects the funds that are made available for people with disabilities. So that needs to change, and there are a lot of very strong advocates getting the government to change that. So, but with television and Facebook and YouTube, there are a lot of ways.
You are doing quite a lot of awareness raising work, isn't it? In terms of disability,
to some extent, because with my own experience of having a brother and a son with severe learning disabilities, I am able to persuade or try to persuade parents that actually, if they invest a bit of time, they can help make their children much more productive and communicative than anyone believed they could be. So that's another problem, and there are more Bangladesh professionals being trained now than there were 30 or 40 years ago.
Obviously, you have been involved in a charity dinner where Friends of Oxfam, British Friends of Oxfam, have arranged to collect donations for Oxfam or various projects in Bangladesh through Oxfam. I'm sure there are opportunities to support not only Oxfam, other charities that were working for people of Bangladesh. So what will be your comments to our viewers who are watching tonight's program in terms of how, as British Bangladeshis, we can support various projects in Bangladesh?
Yeah, I would turn it round and say Bangladeshi British.
Okay, Bangladeshi British, absolutely.
So, but it is quite remarkable that under the sort of direction of Aziz Rahman, who has been a strong supporter of Oxfam for many years and has got a group to be with him. So they've been he has been raising funds for Oxfam, but earmarking them for work in Bangladesh. This function that I was invited to address was quite remarkable, because it showed that there are very generous members of the Bangladeshi British community that want to help people in their country. So it is very encouraging, and I'm very pleasantly surprised. I'm amazed, actually.
Okay, so I want to conclude. I think what I'm sure my viewers would like to know, your journey. You went to Bangladesh as a young, enthusiastic, active activist, humanitarian activist, went through the largest rehabilitation program of refugees, and you stayed behind. And you're still in Bangladesh. You are going through the ups and downs of Bangladesh, the Bangladeshi people, and you have kind of hang on to that experience. And at this stage, at this junction of life, how did you see the journey of Bangladesh?
Well, as I said earlier,
you've been part of it.
It's quite remarkable. No one thought that we would be talking in 2022 and saying, well, the child mortality figures or maternal mortality figures are better than India, and that sort of thing. But it has been quite remarkable, and it's been a privilege to be part of that journey. And I just want to see that more and more people are standing on their own feet. They've been badly battered over the COVID situation, and now the price rises everywhere, largely because of this tragic war in Ukraine. But I think they will overcome this, and because they are extremely not only hard-working but resilient.
Your family remained in UK. You came back, but then went back to Bangladesh. So what is it that drawn you back to Bangladesh? Because your sons are here, your wife, unfortunately, we're really sorry to hear that she passed away, but she came back. But you went back to Bangladesh. You went back to the people of Bangladesh. What was it that drawn you into that?
Well, it was, I suppose, the desire to help to make a difference, but also it seemed that was the only thing I was qualified to do, because I'd spent so long in India and Bangladesh that people would say, well, we need you there. So that's how and I've been very lucky. I've made lots of valuable friends who have, as I said before, helped me take a lot of very good decisions.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else you would like to say to our viewers in terms of Bangladesh, and especially our new generation Bangladeshi British or British Bangladeshis who were born in this country but can still contribute in terms of the development of Bangladesh? Because at the end of the day, that's our root. I think
it's very important that the younger generation, particularly those born after 1971, I think it's very important that they know the real history the true history of the country, and how the Liberation War didn't just start in 1971. It went back much further,
yeah.
And connected to language and culture and so on. So it's very important that gets into some of the schools here, where there are large percentages of Bangladeshi British.
And with that note, I would like to say thank you very much for giving us the time, and it's been a real pleasure to know the real history or real information in terms of what exactly happened in that time and how difficult and challenging this rehabilitation process was. And someone who loves Bangladesh, someone who loves the people of Bangladesh, and someone that people of Bangladesh has got so much love, respect, for you. So thank you again, Julian Bhai, for giving us the time. I wish you all the best and good health.
Well, thank you so much.
থ্যাংক ইউ। দর্শক, বিদায় নিচ্ছে আজকের মতন। আমরা আন্তরিকভাবে কৃতজ্ঞ জুলিয়ান ভাইয়ের কাছে, যিনি মুক্তিযুদ্ধ পরবর্তী বাংলাদেশের শরণার্থীদের ফিরিয়ে আনার যে প্রজেক্ট ছিল অক্সফামে, সেখানে খুব কাছাকাছি কাজ করেছেন এবং ২৬ বছরের যে তরুণ এসেছিলেন বাংলাদেশের মানুষের ভালোবাসায় তিনি রয়ে গেছেন এখনো বাংলাদেশেই। তিনি বাংলাদেশের নাগরিক এবং ফ্রেন্ডস অফ লিবারেশন ফ্রেন্ডস অফ বাংলাদেশে সেই সম্মানে ভূষিত। আন্তরিক কৃতজ্ঞতা তার প্রতি আমাদেরকে সময় দেওয়ার জন্য। থ্যাংক ইউ এগেইন স্যার। থ্যাংক ইউ। শুভরাত্রি।